Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Tara Chadzakis, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. There, and welcome to this episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. Today I'm joined by Janice Fogarty, who lives in Canada, and she's the host of the Connections, Coffee and Confidence podcast. And Janice and I met through a Facebook group for podcasters, and we decided that we loved each other's content so much we were going to do a podcast swap. So I'm being interviewed on her podcast and she's been interviewed on mine. So Janice is a communication strategist, and she loves to help women communicate with their audience effectively to reach their goals. So we have quite a lot in common. Just as I work with clarity and visibility with my clients, Janice does something very similar as well in her own way. So she helps her clients find clarity with their goals and their messaging, and that helps them to develop and confidently implement strategic communication plans. This also kind of saves them time and helps them make more impact with their work in the world. So when we bring Janice in, we're going to have a look at some of the things that she teaches her clients. And one of the things that she does is know, think, feel, and do. So we're going to find out more about that when we talk to her. How are you, my darling? How are you doing?
Good. I am happy to see some sunshine around here. So it always helps pick up the mood.
Yeah. What's it like up in Canada at the moment?
Well, where I am in Canada, we are fairly well known for the unpredictable weather. So we had hail the other day.
We did.
There you go.
It wasn't just you.
It wasn't just us.
No.
But we have sunshine today. So I'm starting to see like the irises and everything popping up out of the ground. So I think spring is coming.
Nice. Yes. Lovely part of the world. Like you said, when I spoke to you the other day, there's a lot of space and not many people. Yeah. So you're quite lucky, really, aren't you? You've got a lot of outdoors, and
absolutely. I love it.
You kind of have to like it, don't you, to live there? You have to like the great outdoors.
Well, you don't actually have to, because if you like people, not to say that I don't like people, but if you like being with lots of people, if you enjoy the city life, I mean, you have Vancouver, you have Toronto, Calgary, Montreal. There's, if you want big cities, we've got big cities. If you like space, that we have in spades.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, lovely place. I'm sure I'll visit one day.
I hope you do.
Yes. So tell my audience more about you, Janice. I've given a little introduction, but how would you describe the kind of things you do, and what made you get to this place?
Well, so I call myself a communication strategist. So basically, it's kind of like doing PR for people, but I very much focus on the communications aspect. Mm-hmm. I really feel like every time we talk about our business, or every time we are engaging with somebody around our work, those are opportunities for us to be putting ourselves forward, basically. Yeah. And sometimes we forget that, So I work with entrepreneurs to help them get their messaging straight, so that when the opportunities come, they know how best to present themselves and their business to whoever it is that they might happen to be talking to. And, it also helps not just with talking, but, when you're doing your social media posts, or if you're going to come on a podcast or something like that, you need to have that focus and that center so that you are bringing yourself forward in the best light possible. Yeah. And when you have all of that straight inside your head, it just makes life so much easier. It takes that stress off. So I appreciate that aspect of it. And then when my clients get that aspect, they're like, oh, that was easier because I knew what I was saying. That's it. That's
Definitely.
the magic.
Yeah. I mean, I know myself, like in the beginning, when I was talking to people and they ask me, what do you do? And I'm like, well, because if you haven't got it not mapped out, but if you haven't got, like you say, a clear vision of what you do, and you know how to articulate that, it can be
Yeah.
quite difficult.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
And people like to jump straight in with like the publicity. Yes, I want to get on that podcast. I want to talk to that person. I want that interview. Well, that's great. And I can 100% help you get that. But let's work on the basics first and figure out what's the purpose. What do you want that for? What are you going to say? How are you going to make this opportunity work for you? So I think it's first things first, you know?
Definitely. I mean, it's really easy to, like you say, to skip those bits, but you're going to have to come back to them eventually anyway. It's
100%.
you can keep building and building, but it's going to be such a struggle because you're going to keep losing your focus. And if your foundations are crappy, it's going to collapse.
Exactly. It's hard to paper over those cracks in the moment, like there is really nothing worse than when a journalist asks you a question and you don't quite know how to respond in the best way. So having your key messages prepared and your goals for that interview mapped out ahead of time, that can save you so much heartache in the end.
So do you work with helping your clients secure PR or speaking opportunities or journalistic opportunities? Do you work on that as well?
I can do. Primarily, I would work with the back end with the messaging and getting that kind of thing straight first. But I have helped some of my clients approach podcasts in particular because it's such a growing industry, growing media. In my previous life, I did that as a living.
What did you do before connections and coffee and all this?
So my background is in public relations. I did a full 4-year degree and absolutely loved it. It's funny because high school guidance counselors have a really bad reputation. Like, they're a bit of a joke. I don't know if they're like that over there, but they are here. Yeah. And I remember going in to see the high school guidance counselor, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I was thinking about going into law, but maybe journalism, and we were talking about it, and I said, like, I just really want to help people tell their stories. Like, I want to be a people champion, thinking she was going to laugh me out of her office. And she said, I don't think you should go into journalism. I think you should go into PR.
Cool.
Yeah, honestly, like she hit the nail on the head. So I've been really fortunate with my PR degree. I was able to use it in all kinds of different scenarios. Like, I've worked for nonprofit organizations like the MS Society and the Alzheimer's Society. I have done small startups. I worked with a coffee roaster in Ireland and helped get him on his path off to creating a small empire. And I learned to roast coffee while I was there.
Cool.
No opportunity wasted. And I worked for one of the provincial governments here in Canada. And I have done agency work also in Ireland. So it's been like this whole gamut of different things. I've loved being able to travel with my knowledge and my experience and bring it with me. Actually, when I was in Dublin as well, I worked in a large multinational European headquarters and had the opportunity to create an internal communications department. And like, that was fascinating.
Yeah, I can imagine.
What an opportunity. We had 33 different nationalities under the one roof, operating on all different aspects of the business. And I was tasked with bringing everybody together to make them feel like they were working for one company and creating like an actual identity for the employees as a cohesive group. And it was fascinating.
I love working with people. I am a huge people person. Maybe I should have done PR originally, but I didn't. I didn't have a wise guidance counselor at school, but mine probably said you won't amount to much, Tara, because you never pay attention in class. Because I have to admit, I was like the worst, easily distracted. That was my report all the time. So, but just being with people and their energy and seeing them get excited about things and seeing them have breakthroughs and, supporting them. I just love being in the room with people, and I have missed it terribly. I mean, being online is great, but I have missed it in a physical sense as well.
Yeah.
Like in 2020 was hard to not be around people.
Yeah, it has been. And it still is. I mean, you guys are lucky because you're coming out of your lockdowns. And my province, we're waiting for an announcement to probably go into further lockdowns. So.
Oh my goodness, that's awful.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's about all I can say on that is.
Yes, let's not dwell on that one then. That's not, sorry.
No, that's okay. And that's one of those things as well. Like, it's so hard not to bring up the big topics of the day,
Well, yeah, it is, because this is something it's not like my local news in the UK and your news over there. This
is global.
It is all of us, exactly. You can't not talk about it. It's crazy because it's got a lot of PR. It's got a lot of exposure.
It does. And actually that has been really fascinating to me professionally, is watching how different people spin different things, because a lot of things are being spun. Yeah. And I'm actually in some upcoming podcasts, I'm planning on talking about media literacy and like the critical consumption, because it is so very difficult for people to understand that everything that they see, read, or hear isn't as necessarily as pure as you might expect it to be.
What? Is that the truth? Janice.
I know.
Gosh.
I know.
I'm shocked. Really?
I know.
You heard it
I
first here, guys.
But it's like,
how can people believe the news? I mean, I'm sorry. It is the majority of it is 99% fabricated. It's just crazy.
Is it fabricated or
embellished?
Is it pointed?
Yes.
And that's where that whole critical consumption comes in, because, when you see a story on Sky News and it comes on, and I have like nothing against Sky News, by the way. I just pulled them out of the air. And they run a story and it's in a company and they have some really great aerial footage and they have like one person, like a spokesperson, giving their little spiel. Yeah. But you have to ask yourself, where did that story come from?
Yeah.
Because if there isn't a balanced approach to it, if there isn't like a contradictory or a secondary source that's been quoted and on there, where did that story come from? And why is it there? And what is it meant to make me think, feel, do, or act? And it's fantastic for big companies to be able to do things like that to further their own businesses.
Well, I was just saying that just ties in nicely with what I'd mentioned you do on your website before you came on, saying your know, think, feel, and do. Exactly that.
It's exactly it. But that's all it boils down to, right? Is how do you make your people know, think, feel, or do something that you want them to do for your business? And it's brilliant for big companies who are able to hire a whole team of people or have an agency on standby waiting for their latest whim. But I really do believe that every single one of us has the ability to nail down our story and then actually go and deliver it in the places that matter.
So can you just sort of expand a little bit on the whole know, think, feel, and do. What are the sort of elements that people could take away today and actually sort of look at their work and think, okay, is this happening for me? Am I doing this?
Yeah, it's completely set around knowing your goals.
Okay.
So when you have a business, you have a business plan.
Yeah.
Most of us. Hopefully it is written down somewhere that you can actually, go back and review it.
Where?
Yeah, exactly. It's all tucked up here. But stemming from your business plan comes your communications plan. And your communications plan is based on your business goals. There's very much, there tends to be a lot of skepticism around PR and around strategic communications. And it's just fluff and it's nice to have, but it's not necessary. No, it's actually a critical tool for your business.
Yeah.
And so when you have a goal, you need to break that down into how you need people to know, think, feel, or do in order for you to be able to reach your goal. And most people struggle because you're not approaching your communications plan in the same way that you would your business plan. There are a couple of shifts in your thinking that you have to kind of work your head around.
Yeah.
And that's what my course is actually all about. It's nailing those shifts in thinking so that you're able to take your hard and fast business goal and look at how you're going to make it a little softer and work your communications around that. So
like making a not a message, like sharing your mission, if you like. Is that the kind of thing you mean?
Yeah, like messaging is integral. You're going to have to say things in order to make people know, think, feel, or do something. But you have to know what you want them. Like you have to know what the end result is. You have to know who your people are, and you have to know the way to speak to them so that they're actually going to receive your message and act on it. Yeah. And there's no...
I'm presuming this is the cut the waffle that's coming.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Create your strategic communications plan. I've got it in front of me.
I was just going to say, you must have it in front of you.
I do, Anna, because I like the picture of the waffle.
I know.
Really, I would love that waffle right now. I would. So if people who wanted to stop wasting time creating posts, calls, pitches, websites with pretty words that don't connect and impact the right people, well, that's exactly it, isn't it? If you don't know who you're talking to, you're going to create all that crap and it's not going to reach the right people because you're going to be talking to Sandra and John and little Jimmy and great Aunt Agatha, and you're going to talk to them all and they're all going to be like, what the hell do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do for? Because there's no cohesion there, is there?
It's the cohesion and it's the purpose because so much of what we do, and like I'm totally guilty of this because as an entrepreneur, life is overwhelming. I mean, I have 3 boys. Like it's just that in itself is a full-time job. Yeah, exactly. So I know how easy it is to just create the content and get it out there because that's what we feel we need to do. Like there is a significant amount of pressure out there to be seen and to be heard. However, how much of that is wasted? How much of that effort is purely for the ability to scratch that off of your to-do list?
Yeah.
I would prefer if we used our energy wisely and made sure that we were strategic with what we actually said. You know, you can have a brilliant website with very beautifully written words, but do those words serve your purpose? Do they get your messages out if you get your key audience member to look at your website, do they leave your page knowing, thinking, feeling, or doing what it is you wanted them to do? And that's where the strategy comes in.
Yeah, definitely. Because it has to speak to them, doesn't it? They have to go on the website and be like, oh my God, that's me. She's talking to me. And especially I call it head nodding. They have to be like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And the head's nodding that's me. What the heck? Is she reading my post? Does she
Yeah.
she's checking my emails? She knows that's me. And that's
Yeah.
the thing, when you've got that, and your client knows that you're talking to them, and they know that you feel how they're feeling, or you understand how they're feeling, and this is your solution that's going to help them. And that can be quite difficult, because we're very good at, especially in the beginning, where as entrepreneurs we're like, I can do this, and this is going to help you, and the client's going, but this is all about you and what you can do, not what's in it for me. I don't want to know your processes and your tools.
Yeah.
And that's quite difficult when you're writing, to do that, isn't it?
It's really, really difficult. And I once had a client say, actually, after she was about 3/4 of the way through my beta launch for Cut the Waffle, she called me and she was like, I have to tell you how helpful this is, because everybody tells you, narrow your niche, find your niche, get your niche, know your niche, and then go talk to them. And she's like, there's a huge chunk between knowing your niche and being able to actually talk to them. And that's that gap that I want to fill, or I want to help fill.
Yeah, it's like dating, but being socially awkward, isn't it? It's great saying the date up, but then you actually got to go speak to them.
You got to do it.
What do I say? Oh my goodness! And it's like sitting there looking out the window all night. Oh, it's lovely today, isn't it? You've got to have that conversation at some point, and you've got to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and really, it's our business. We are the best person,
of course,
to go out there and talk about our business. Nobody knows it like us.
No.
But there's also that confidence piece of being able to go out there and do it, to even put your hand up in the first place and say, I have something to say. And
sorry, I was going to say, we're also, because we're so passionate about what we do, we can get carried away, and we can be oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. And the person's thinking, but the person's overwhelmed, and they're like, I don't need all this information right now. It's too much for me. If you give me it all up front, I'm just going to walk away, because
it's too much.
It is. It's like they can't see the perspective, because it's all a download, and it's not helpful, is it, like that?
Exactly. Exactly. There's the opposite end of the spectrum, where either nerves or excitement overtake you and you just provide everything under the sun. And when you have your strategy in place, when you know what the goal of that conversation is, that helps you tailor the amount of information you give.
Yeah. Yeah,
which is
no point in giving the end, like the last step, because they wouldn't actually, they won't be able to comprehend or understand, because they're not at that stage yet.
Yeah,
it can be too much for them. So
it absolutely can. It absolutely can.
It can for me.
We're all human.
Exactly. When people are telling me things and I'm like, whoa, just a minute, get started, and then we can look at the rest of it, because it is too much, especially when you're eager. You're like, yes, I want to do this. So you want to know it, you do want to know it all, but then you're like, ooh, that's quite a lot to do. And it can be a bit scary, can't it?
It can be overwhelming from the consumer's point of view.
Yeah, and we've got to take care of them, haven't we? Because bless them. Yeah,
that's it.
Little baby.
I take care of anybody who wants to hand over their hard-earned money. I will take care of that person. I will love them forever.
Yes. Well, they're investing in themselves, and they've got to understand, like you say, your message. So what else do you have coming up then, besides the Cut the Waffle?
Well, my plan is, because some people have a really good knack for getting their own PR. They're heavily involved in the community, and they're out there doing things. Mm-hmm. I'd like to create an actual, a workshop purely around messaging.
Okay.
And I do have an e-guide up that anybody's welcome to go and download. It is on my website, janicefogarty.com.
Cool. I'll put the link in.
Thank you. And it walks you through the messaging, the strategic messaging.
Okay.
And so I want to create a workshop around that so that people can actually have that verbal instruction as well. I tried to keep the e-guide reasonably succinct. I mean, nobody's got time to read a 30-page document about messaging, although I could totally write one. I just want that to be clear. I just don't think anybody wants to read that.
No. Yeah, I mean, it'd be great. I mean, show your knowledge, girl, but give me the basics, please. I just want the bullet points. That's all I need.
And that's it. And that goes back to where, how much information do you give? And then I'd like to do a third one purely on pitching yourself, around creating your hook, because that is something that a lot of people kind of struggle with, because when you are working, what you do is what you do. And that's very normal.
Yeah.
But the joy of having a PR person is that they see what you do as super special, and they know how to target different media that have the right audience who will be so excited to learn that about you.
Yeah.
And that is something I do believe we can all do for ourselves, which is why I want to create the workshop to help people actually do it. Yeah. Again, we are best placed to be our own spokesperson, our own champion. I really want to be involved in helping people do that for themselves. And I also find that particularly your local media, particularly your niche media, like niche podcasts or blogs or YouTube channels, they're highly responsive to a person pitching themselves. Whereas if an agency or an intermediary pitches you, sometimes there's that layer of skepticism.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Somebody who emails me themselves and say, I'd love to be on your podcast, I would look at them immediately, type of thing. But the ones that come through and say, oh, we've seen your podcast and we think this person will be a great fit for your podcast. So I just message straight back and say, have you ever listened to it?
Yeah.
And then if they reply and say yes, then I might think about it. But yeah, you just automatically think it's just a pitch.
I'm not very important in this transaction. That's how it sometimes feels.
It does, yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's just a matter of them. They've been paid to contact or get their client X amount of podcasts, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
But I think they just pick them out of the hat personally sometimes. I don't think they do any research.
Sometimes there are some good agencies out there. I mean, any good PR person worth their salt is actually going to do their homework, and they're not going to waste their time, and they're not going to waste their clients' time. And by extension, they're not wasting the media's time.
No.
But some agencies are hiring people who don't have that requirement on them. And therefore they're just filling their quota. Like you said, they're contacting several.
Yeah, they can't listen to every single podcast. Well, they can. They should. But they, it's difficult to listen to every single podcast that you're writing to. And I appreciate that. But I sometimes think they're just, I don't know, maybe they just read the description and they think, oh, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So.
Yeah. But I still feel that you are best placed to do it. And it's not hard. And with a little bit of help, anybody can do it. And I would like to be that help.
And perfect you are as well. Perfect for pitching, perfect for messaging, perfect for cutting the waffle and everything.
It's so funny because like in copywriting, there is a fairly fast rule saying, don't be cute.
What, cut the waffle?
Yeah. There's me with cut the waffle. But because I lived in Ireland for almost 11 years and like my mother-in-law is she's English. I want to say Liverpool, but it's not Liverpool. It's the Wirral. She's from the Wirral. And like people waffling around, that is such a familiar expression to me.
Yeah, it is. I would say stop waffling.
Yeah, exactly. In North America, that is not a common expression.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, yeah, I gotta rethink that one. Do
Well,
I keep
just keep
it?
that for the UK audience, and then find a different one for your side. They'll never know it's the same thing, will they? It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
All right, my lovely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been amazing.
Thank you.
I shall put your links in the show notes as well afterwards. But
Brilliant.
just
Thank you.
remind my audience, if they want to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
Well, my website is janicefogarty.com.
Okay.
My podcast is Connections, Coffee, and Confidence, wherever you get your audio. And you can always shoot me an email, janice@janicefogarty.com. I like to keep it nice and simple. Oh, actually, I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well. So Instagram is Janice E. Fogarty.
Okay.
And Facebook, if you just look for Connections, Coffee, and Confidence, you will find me.
All right then. Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
It's been great. Thank you for spending time your morning, my afternoon, having a chat with me. It's been great.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset, and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.